Hello world, it's Jason Smith with Seagree LLC and Aslan Training and Development. And I want to thank you once again for tuning in for our last installment of our Sales Synergistics online seminar. I thank you all for tuning in each week to learn a little bit more. And we're going to go really fast, recapping a lot of the things we covered in the past few weeks to discuss how you as a sales leader can actually help to bring your sales, marketing, and operations together by the way that you work with your sales and service teams. Now, let's just take a look at what we covered in the past week. As always, we talk about who we are here at Seagree Sales Synergistics. I'm Jason Smith, founder and primary consultant for Seagree LLC. I'm also working hand in hand with Aslan Training and Development to make sure that we bring sales, services, and operations together through a common foundation of skill that's provided by the 23 plus years of Aslan Training. And we've helped all of the companies you see there in the slide presentation below. Maybe we can do the same things for you. Let's just recap what we talked about over the past few weeks. Remember that you as a sales leader, as a frontline manager, director, manager of sales reps, you're responsible for curating the tribal knowledge of what your team does to affect these 5 areas that you see on the slide. The 5-ring framework we talk about covers what they do in direct conversations with customers, how they work with the marketing team to ensure that the mass marketing that's out there reflects the brand story that they want told about what they do and how they help their customers. Also working on content that goes out there that customers can consume in various different ways from various different sources besides just websites, as well as affiliates who carry your brand forward and advocates from your existing client base who grow it. You're responsible for making sure that every rep is working in those 5 areas to grow their business and their territories. Now, we know that working with customers over time since the 50s to today has been a huge decrease in receptivity and the degree to which people want to talk to us as sales teams based on the amount of information that's out there. That's caused us to mentally have to flip the funnel, no longer thinking about putting sales opportunities in at the top and time will just trickle them down through purchases to being advocates of our business. No, we have to work to actively push opportunities up through the funnel, constantly remembering that when we stop touching that prospect anywhere in the process, time just lets gravity pull them down out of the funnel rather than letting them trickle down through it. We have to constantly keep working with our customers to move them and draw them through that sales funnel on past the transaction to being a stark raving advocate of our business. We talked about that over the past few weeks. Now, as we think about touching each customer we work with, we know in complex B2B sales and sometimes in our smaller B2C sales as well, there could be a couple of different stakeholders and everyone in the organization has a different role and a different way to influence the outcome. We have to make sure we're tailoring our messages to whatever the specific persona we're working with at that moment has to be. And in doing so, we need to go deep on understanding that persona as well as possible. How do they think? What is their day-to-day life like? Not just their pains, but their gains, the things that they actually want outside of the business, perhaps, that some of the things we provide, that comfort or that career progression could provide, and tailor those messages to make those things valuable to them, building value in all the steps we deliver to help them advance to the next step or the next phase of relationship with us, okay? The next thing we talked about was as we develop those value propositions, making sure that we as sales leaders are bringing together value propositions that are structured properly, that have the point of view clearly discussed and defined, and that we talk to the customer in terms of their point of view first, also offering a disruptive truth that they haven't thought of. Hey, you, Mr. Customer, you are trying to get as many leads as possible. Well, we've found over the years that less leads is much better. Boom, disruptive truth. And here's a proprietary benefit as to how we can do that. Making sure that you have that in advance of picking up the phone to reach out to a customer for any reason, that's a good, valid warrant for that call. And you don't want to go knocking on doors before you have them. It's important for you as a sales leader to curate that library of what we call other-centered positions or value propositions in advance and get together with your team to establish which other-centered positions you're going to go to market with at every different quarter or stage or phase of your business, so that as a whole, you as a leader can hit your territory numbers, your team numbers, based on the fact that everybody is singing from the same hymnal that's been proven to work over time with various personas. Whew, said a mouthful. Now we need to get back to the the essence of our call today, the most important thing about our seminar session today. And that's as we put these value propositions out there, start these opportunities, and we're working with customers over time, sometimes sales cycles as long as 12 months. What are we doing to continue to touch our customers and move them through the sales cycle instead of falling out of that funnel? As we thought about flipping that funnel. One of the biggest things that we need to do is plan for event strategies, to get events together, to bring customers back to the table, to talk about their needs and problems with other potential customers or existing customers. These can be simple as webinars or online seminars, chats that you can organize, live events. If you want to bring people together, like user groups or forums that you bring people in one space to talk about their problems and talk about their needs and to share the ways that they've overcome them as a group. It's important that you attach your name and your brand to the experience that they're going to have there in those sessions. You can maybe even pepper into the audience some of your existing customers to help your advocates generate more leads for you from rooms like that. You can also have fun things, people that can have experiential marketing where you bring them together to have a fantastic event that they just enjoy and they can share, common interests with the people in their peer group, and you are attached your brand to that when you're the one that organized it and set it up and made sure they had a great time. Why do you think that big companies have these big sales meetings where they bring in millions of dollars worth of entertainment and hotel accommodations and shows and dinners and nights out? It's the experiential marketing of getting people to enjoy themselves in a group with your brand name attached to it. That being said, if you want to make sure you manage your territory across a whole quarter and hit your numbers incrementally, keep scheduling those things as a team, as a group, to give all the reps in your team a reason to call. So picture this, you've got your calendar out there, you know when and where you want to bring in revenue, and you know where your different prospects are in the process. Maybe you look at those different personas you have and schedule events based on the personas that you want to attract. Or maybe the same persona, different events for different stages of the business that they're at. Initial prospects who are in this phase of your customers' buying process. Maybe you have another one for people who are at the end of the buying process, and you design an event that is fitting for that persona and that stage of the business, and just schedule it. If you got another persona, have another set of events scheduled for them that you can send out invites and invite them to attend, record those, capture information from those events, and then send them out afterwards. It gives you a perpetual reason to call. You can define another value proposition based on the event itself, leading up to it and then after it. Maybe you have some other third party that you work with, some affiliate of yours that is having an event of their own. You didn't have to spend your whole budget on advertising for it. They're promoting it already, but they have a commensurate service, or they're just partners with you. Send people to their event, promote on their behalf and send them there, and bask in the reflected glory of those good events that you've seen good returns from, right? Send them to events that you're going to be attending as a vendor perhaps, and make sure that you're planning and scheduling, coordinating when they're going to be. Those can be very small and cheap and not expensive, but every now and then you want to have a really big event. That's that big experiential thing, a concert, or taking people to a Braves game because they're the best team in baseball. You just want to do those types of things to lead up to that big event, maybe as an incentive, like for those that actually attend these next 3 webinars, we're going to let you come to this next big event coming up. And everyone on your team, everybody has a reason to reach out and touch their customers again, to stay on top of mind and keep pushing them up through the funnel and fighting the gravity that time causes. If you have events on your calendar for everybody to look forward to. So just some takeaway thoughts to think about as we go, right? Remember that these experiences, this event management is going to be part of your existing advocacy strategy. Taking active time to build these in is how you help build, develop, maintain relationships with your existing customers, as well as putting out, using these events to create content that'll be out there for future customers and prospects to find in the future. Those 2 funnels, or those 2 rings of our 5-ring framework, are driven by this event strategy or supported by this event strategy. Work it into your time, Mr. Customer, so your reps don't have to do this all the time. Since you're the sales leader, Work it into your time and your thought process to plan these things out and drive these things through your team so they always have a reason to call and they can manage those rings. Think about these things for yourselves, just to give you a little incentive to do it. You remember the best corporate event you ever went to, right? Whether it was an event that your company did or something you went to, like a trade show, did you tell someone about it? Did that event live on after it was over because of your experience there, right? Did you ever show up at some webinar or trade show or whatever just because you thought it would be fun or informative? You really didn't care about the brand yet. You just went because of the experience you expected to get. That is a positive thing. And I've heard some different debates about whether or not that's a good or bad thing for your business. Take that for your own. But again, if you've got people who don't really know your brand yet and they just want to have a good time, sometimes putting on something that's fun gives them a chance to attach your brand to that fun thing. Have you ever had an event scheduled for your prospects and clients today? Do you already have something on your calendar? Take a look and see if there's anything that they're looking forward to from you, right? What kind of things could you put on your calendar that won't cost you a dime? What could it be done for free? Or whatever your budget was for mass advertising, whatever you spent on big ad campaigns and stuff you've invested in other people's third-party services to drive leads for you, what could you do for half of that in terms of an event strategy? What could you take from mass marketing and invest in an event that you could do for your customers that's experiential, that will cost half of what you spent in doing your mass marketing and advertising, right? I've heard it said from someone else, I wish I could quote this source, but they said that advertising is a tax that disinteresting companies or mediocre companies have to pay. Not mediocre, that wasn't the word, but if you can be outstanding, if you can do things that delight and dazzle your customers, it's less you have to spend on delighting and dazzling them with expensive advertising. Events can really help with that. All right, that's enough rambling for the day. I appreciate you all for tuning in. If you need any more help with any of these activities or events for us, tune into us via this contact information here. We'll schedule a time to get with you, assess your needs, and find a way to help you grow towards sales synergistics between now and the future. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your week.